All right, so it looks like we have a nice live broadcast going on. Let me just check one more time. Excellent connection. That's good. So yeah, we've had like new additions for our Mirage F1. Um, One of the weapons used to be available for the Mirage 2000. The one that I have on this plane here. I've loaded the weapons on the wing pylons here. You can see that there are lots of possibilities on how many you can load. You can load 6, 9, 12, or 18. And basically, as you can see, they're sort of like stackable. So right now I have 12, so it means like I have 3 plus 3 and then 3 plus 3. So that's how you get the 12. But if you had the 18, you'd get another row of 3 on top of each. And that's how it works. So this weapon here for this particular plane is the one that used to be available on the Mirage 2000 as an anti-runway bomb, and those are very small. If you look, like, compared to the small rocket pod there, they're almost like the size of a single rocket. But once you deploy them, they deploy a parachute, and once the nose is pointing down towards the concrete, I think there's like a little rocket motor that propels it in the ground. A little bit like the Durandal, but it's like a smaller sized version of that if you want. So that's the first new weapon that we got for the F1. As I said, it was available for the Mirage 2000, but now it's available for this. And on my other plane, I've put the other variant that we've just gotten. As you can see, it looks the same, but this one, it's the BAT-120. And as you can see in the description, it says HE Frag chute-retarded bomb. So since it's high explosive, basically it's going to be good for little trucks, infantry, and things like that. And so as you can see, for these first series of bombs there, you always get like either the chute-retarded bomb for the concrete piercing or the HE Frag one. So these are the HE Frag. I took 12 because 18, it's a long string of bombs, and you'll see that my targets are not really that long of a string. Like, even for the runway that we're going to hit here, if I start dropping munitions here and I go all through the runway, probably the 12 munitions will do the trick. I tried with 18 and I was still dropping bombs like almost in the village here. So I guess 12 will probably destroy that runway nicely for the runway piercing bombs. And whoops, what did I just do here? Did I add a new waypoint for another plane, or did I move one? I think I might have moved one. Yeah. I'm just gonna move this about here. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, the first the plane with the anti-runway bombs will hit the runway for sure, but I'll probably take the other plane first to hit this row of trucks here that you can see, which also has a lot of infantry. I put those guys here with the AKS, and so it looks like there's like a large group of infantrymen in their trucks preparing for whatever doing no good here at the airfield. And I've also parked a few MiG-21s with refueling trucks and a few things like that, so that I can have a little bit of fun, because I've also armed the planes with rockets. So I can do one pass dropping the bombs, then another pass with the rockets, and then try to leave the area. It's not really heavily defended. I've put 2 small AAAs there, 2 other larger caliber ones there, but they're not really protecting much of the airfield. They're just around it, so we'll see how that goes. But yes, so we're just going to test out these weapons. We have the anti-runway, as I said, and the anti-material or fragmentation ones. So we'll start with that one, which is going to be plane 243. So let's go try that. 243 is the one we want. As we can see here, there are some park MiGs and stuff like that around here. I don't know if we can move the view around a little bit. Yeah, we can see the parked MiGs, and in that area here, that's where the little trucks are. That's what we're gonna drop bombs on first. And I'm doing an air start for this so that we don't have to do a bunch of things on the ground, take off and do a long flight for nothing. Here we're just testing stuff, so we'll start in the air. Just gonna go check my broadcast again. Looks like it's working fine. Good. Alright, so this is the first plane with the high explosive ones, and so let's hit fly. So yeah, sorry about that. These are the autopilot warning things like that. There we go. So now we'll have the autopilot on. We'll set up our bombs. So here I'm putting the fuses to instant. We're going to start with the bombs on the inside. The rest here looks good. I'm going to set this on my little nav mode. Set it to the second waypoint, and we'll turn off autopilot and line up on it. There we go. That's a good lineup. Autopilot is back on. Here our master arm is on. This should work okay. Maybe we could get off the afterburner. We're fast enough as it is. And maybe we could lower the sights. This thing takes forever to move down, but we'll bring it to about 152. And so we roll. We roll, we roll, we roll. There we go. So somewhere there, it's going to be at the bottom of the HUD. I'm going to use that to shoot the bombs, which is not super precise, but it's going to be good enough. And I'm going to use that little line here when I go fire my rockets on the parked aircraft. And so we're getting close to our first waypoint. So again, we'll get rid of the autopilot. We're close to another airfield here, but it doesn't look very active. So we'll switch to the other waypoint. And we will move in that direction here. Try not to crash into the ground. As we get lined up with the target, we can see there's smoke in the distance. So that's going to help us a little bit. I think if I'm not mistaken, that's the runway. These are buildings on fire. That's the sand that's been destroyed. And our targets, yeah, they're here. We don't really see it very well at this point, but there's like a taxiway there. A bunch of trucks. Let's see if I put the autopilot on. If I could go maybe show you what my target looked like. That's what they look like right here. That's these trucks and those little soldiers. Alright, so autopilot back off. I don't want to line up with the runway. I want to line up with these guys. Maybe get a little bit lower. Want to be flying at about 500 knots. I'm a little bit above that, but that's fine. We're hearing the beeping noises that we're aligned with the runway. We want to be aligned with the taxiway here. Alright, so let's start dropping. As you can see, there are lots of little munitions coming out of there. And I think we probably were able to hit a lot of those trucks. Oh, just realized that my lights were still on, so that's going to make the AAA target us more easily. And here we're going to go to rockets and on the outside. You can see some secondary explosions in the target area. That's good. Yeah. Some of those trucks are blowing up. And now we're going to try to use these rockets on the parked MiGs here. Kaboom. That was a pretty good rocket shot right there. And we can see that there are some of those trucks that have been hit. So what I'll do here is I'll just stabilize the aircraft, put it on autopilot, and then maybe we can pause and let's go check on the map. I had positioned like this truck here so that I could zoom out. We can check that area where the MiGs are. Looks like it's been hit. Yeah, a lot of the MiGs have holes in them. As you can see, this one is pretty damaged. This one too. And some of the trucks caught fire. But yeah, our original target here, you can see that pretty much all the soldiers are down on the ground, even the ones that were on the other side here. They were hit by these high explosives. And some of the trucks are smoking, they're not all destroyed. But yeah, for infantry in a column, things like that, they're pretty effective weapon. And so what I thought maybe I could do for us to try to see it a little bit better, let's try going in the replay. So we'll just watch the track. So the nice thing when you're in a replay, you can look at the outside view. You can see the weapons there, what they look like. But what's going to be even nicer is when we drop them, we're going to be able to see how they deploy. So we can see that we were approaching the target there. And at this point I'm going to go back to like normal speed. What I'll do is I'll move to this kind of view so you can see them drop off the plane, deploy the parachutes, and then the explosions themselves. I might pause it. There we go. Alright, so as you can see, if I go with this view, you can see those little sort of bombs falling off the plane, and here they're deploying their chutes, these ones, and so they're probably going to fall a bit short, the first ones, but you can see that it's a long column, and earlier while we were flying we dropped bombs almost all the way to here. So let's look at the trucks and the infantry and what it looks like as the plane's gonna fly by. So let's unpause. And so our plane is long gone, and as you can see, there have been impacts over a pretty wide area there. So that's with the 12 bombs. I did like half the runway length. And I was just trying to hit this group here. So if you have a longer column, you'd be able to cover like pretty long areas if you have the 12 or the 18 bombs. And so let's see how we managed to do here. We see some of the trucks are trying to run away. But yeah, not much left of that infantry. And then as we saw when we were flying back, there were some secondary explosions. So some of these trucks are exploding. This one's probably going to be next. Kaboom. Alright, so we've done that type of bomb. Next, actually, we're going to come and bomb that runway here. So we'll just quit. Go back to the editor, I guess, or I could just hit fly again. No, that's going to fly the replay. So yeah, let's just do it this way. That way we'll get to choose our plane. Alright, this one is anti-runway. And you'll see that the plane also has rockets, so we'll be able to shoot at the planes again, because it's always good practice. Alright, so got my autopilot on. I'll just remove it for a second. Try to stabilize the plane here. Something like that. There we go. And now we can arm the bombs. Instant interior pylons. We'll do like we had done before. Bring our sight down. There. 152. Here, things look good. We've got our master arm on. Let's do the navigation thing. Set the waypoint. We're not quite on it, so we'll turn left. Line it up. There we go. So we can still see like the big smoke in the distance. So this time we're going to get the easy target, the runway itself. And I remember I kind of liked dropping those bombs with the Mirage 2000. One of the things that was nice with the 2000 was you could set the distance between the bombs. In this one, I'm not too sure. You get salvo mode, but I don't know if we have like something that we could measure the spread. I don't think so. So it just drops them like it would any other bomb that you drop in salvo mode. And so we're pretty much there. So let's switch waypoint, get the autopilot off, turn towards the runway. So I think it's going to be right about there. So we're at about 500 knots. We'll try to get a little bit higher in our seat so we can see the pipper. Although, you know, I can pretty much start once I'm over concrete and I'm going to hit. Alright, I thought I was better lined up with the runway, so I'm going to have to turn right, then turn left. We'll pretend we're jinking to avoid AAA and air defenses. I just remembered that again I didn't really turn off my lights. And so now we're dropping bombs. And let's see what those do. So we've covered like more than half of the runway with the bombs. I'm pretty happy with that. As you saw, the lights were still on, so we're turning them off. And we'll go to rockets, we'll go to outside pylons. And so we go again for a little rocket practice. Didn't go quite as well as last time, but I did cover quite a good area, so I'm happy with that attack. And one of the things that we'll see here, if I set the plane on autopilot, is we can go here back to my little truck. On the runway you'll see all kinds of little holes like this, but these bombs, they go through the concrete, so underneath that there's probably like a lot of damage underneath, which would take a little while to repair. It's not quite as powerful as the Durandos, but you can see there are lots of those little holes. So we covered the big area of the runway, which will not be people won't be able to take off from there. And let's see those planes here. You see the first two planes are barely hit, but the other two, this one's not gonna fly anymore, and the other one, well, not too damaged. I did get a few trucks, so that's good, including a fuel truck there. And so there's a little demonstration of those new weapons for the Mirage. It's kind of fun to be able to use these types of things. The runway penetrator one, of course, can be useful in a Cold War scenario to take out enemy runways. And the other ones, if you have like long lines of vehicles like this one, you can lay waste on them and the infantry that accompanies them. So I hope you enjoyed. Cool handout.